A can't miss multi-use accessory.
On today's video, I'll be installing another bed divider for the Cybertruck. I got this one now from EVBASE. Now the benefit behind this one is, in theory, it mounts in the vertical position as you see it here, but also it'll mount in a horizontal position like this. Now I believe the thinking behind this is it allows you to basically put a shelf or double stack things in the deep portion of your bed. You'll see here is people are putting a spare tire down the base of their truck, which I will do in the next month or so. And this allows you to still stack things neatly and nicely on top of that spare tire, kind of like let you double up your room. Now, if you're somebody that uses your full bed, need that all the time, I still think it's possible this is going to be a benefit to you, because I still use my bed a decent amount, where I think that's where it's going to be nice, where it can flip up if you need that shelf, but also still flip down if you need it just as a divider. The main questions I have, which you might also have, is will this fit in conjunction with all the other molly panels I've put into my truck?
I have completely lined the inside bed of my truck with molly panels, and I use these on a daily basis as either anchor points or hanging points.
So I'll answer this question, which I don't yet know, is will this fit with the panels I have in my truck, or we'll have to edit it, make them, like take something out. You'll find those all out as part of this video also. I've just kind of now, as you can see here, set this about into place where it's gonna go. I can tell right from the beginning that this is gonna be tight, and if it does fit, it's gonna be a little tricky, because this lower section of panel here is going to be a little bit in the way. Now, I do have this little gap in between this corner panel and down here in this lower panel, so I do think it's going to fit here in this little gap, and I think I can possibly make it work horizontally, although I am running out of anchor points with all the different things I have mounted to it. I'm not sure it's going to go down. Let me show you what I mean. So you can see here it's kind of setting now in this little gap in between, but as I go to set this to swing into place, and I don't have any brackets yet, you can tell I'm hitting. This is just meant to fit and fill out the entire bed of the truck, and where my molly panels are standing off that inch and a quarter, that obviously cuts down about 2.5 inches on my bed, and it's just not wide enough. At minimum, not everything is going to work as designed. I was never really happy with this back piece, to be honest, because how it's split in the middle, and you can kind of see up here from the top that I'm sagging. So I'm about, what, an inch from the truck here, but as I come down here, I'm closer to 1.5 inches, 2 inches. You can just kind of see this is not a good anchor point. I'm thinking I'll start with that. I'll remove these corner panels, and I'll remove this back one also. So I'll get into this in a little bit more depth here in just a minute, but basically I'm gonna have to mount these two brackets somewhere along here. But as I mentioned earlier, it is going to fit somewhere in here, and I know it's going to fit with this because you can see pictures on the website where they have this mounted and yet still have the horizontal shelf. But I have this little bracket here that's holding this whole lower monitor panel into place, and it's also the bracket that's fastening the back one. I don't think I'm going to be able to physically fit these brackets where I need to, so just another reason why I think I'm going to go ahead and remove this back corner panel to go ahead and put this one in, because I think I'd rather have this than the molly in the deep bed. So this is going to come with 4 different brackets, 2 larger ones, 2 smaller ones. You'll notice they're each marked with an R1, there's an R2, there's also an L1 and an L2, assumingly for right and left. This is where it's a little backwards from what I've been used to mounting things on the Cybertruck. Normally it would be as if you're driving the car, R would be on the right hand side of the car, like the passenger side. However, these look like they're the opposite for whatever reason. I'm going to be putting the R's here on the left side of the truck, or it would be on the right if I had like my back to the truck looking away from it. There's little multiple holes here on the back side of these different brackets. So these are what's going to mount against the truck like this, and basically they're going to mount into place on the far extremes of where my corner panel is, one way up here and one all the way up there. It's going to set something like that, and this one here is going to set something like this, and just right in between where it's going to hit. And these are going to mount to where this can set on this like this. Now, in the pictures, it has this upside down to where there's going to be a little lip. And there are some times where I think the lip can be to your benefit, but I don't know why you couldn't reverse it sometimes and make the flat edge on the top. Again, I think this is how you want to use it, where it might work best for you. So I'm going to mount now this first back bracket to the back of the truck. You have these little circular included mounts that they're threaded on the inside, that they're basically going to slide in between one of these holes. And once they're in the holes, they're going to slide slightly over. Now I'm going to reuse the hardware I've already used in previous accessories, but they're all about the same. As you can see here, it's going to slide in through the hole and then slide back down a little bit. I couldn't quite make this first anchor spot, so I'm going to be using the second open one and the third in between spot. And I'm just going to mount this like so, using some of the provided little hex nuts they give you. I'm just going to use a washer and screw these right in, as you'll see here.
So like I said, just slip this washer on. I kind of slide it through that bracket and then tighten it down using the included Allen wrench. On the first and the second one, 2 bolts per.
Same thing now with the larger bracket. Again, using those side with the multi-holes to go on there first. I'm going to slide the 2 little wall anchors into place first.
The process of this particular bracket is the same exact process with the one that was in the front of the truck. The smaller bracket, put those little backers into place, get your little nuts with the little hex head on them. Don't forget the washer, and just screw them in tight to the truck just like you did again on the first one.
The Allen wrench they provide works, but it's also very similar to a T20 Torx bit. That's what I'm going to be using here, but the supplied Allen wrench will work just fine. The drill just helps you go a little bit faster. I've already got my 2 anchors in place. I'll go ahead and screw them in. Again, don't forget that little washer.
The only downside to using a drill is if you're not careful, you can strip it, so make sure you carefully start it before driving it in.
So this is where I'm going to make a slight adjustment. So on the driver's side of the truck, I had the 2 brackets right here in the first available openings. However, when it sat here, as you'll see in the picture, I had too big of a gap right here. So what I want to do is basically end up moving this entire bracket here just slightly forward so that's going to fit a little bit more snug in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to leave this one here, but I'm going to slide this bracket over a little bit. So rather going in the 2 outside holes, I'm now going to line it up to where it's going to be over a little bit more.
So instead of going into those extreme outside holes, I'll go into the next one in on either side, and that's how I'll fasten it for this one. So here's a view from above where you can see I have this little bit of gap there. So that's where I'm going to move this bracket up towards the front of the truck. This is real simple. I just, same way as I did all the other brackets, just put them in the center of it rather than the outsides, snugged it in with those 2 bolts, and here's a little close-up of how that attached here. And again, here's another comparison from up top. So here on the passenger side, how it fits nice and tight, and before I moved this bracket up, here's that little spot where it's loose on the left. I got it really tight for snapping it into place, and I think that's the way to do it. And here you can kind of see I have to kind of force it down a little bit for it to set nice, but I think that's how you want it. So here's a quick strength test. I'm about 200 pounds, and it does hold me, but as you can see, I'm standing towards the outside of this because there's no center bracket.
If I were to come in a little bit, you'll see that there is some flex, and I would eventually probably cause some pretty severe sagging. 200 pounds is a decent amount of payload to be holding on this, and especially if it's spread out, it's going to be just fine. I just wouldn't put something really heavy right here in the center. So another really cool benefit to this shelf, outside of the fact my spare tires are going to fit underneath and I can put things above. I work in the field a lot of days, but there are plenty of days I work in an office, and so I'll carry the bag with me, and I don't like it being in the back seat, especially because sometimes I'll have my kids with me. I can use this as just a shelf. It'll hold my bag and things like that. We all know that this bed is not totally waterproof on really rainy days or excessively snowy days. This will help keep it up off that potential moisture in the bottom. It's also a nice safe place for me to put that. It keeps it locked in that little vault of my bed.
And it sets at a very strategic height, so whether it's the Tesla tub or any standard tub you get at a hardware store, they're still going to fit nicely underneath.
So that's as far as the horizontal application. But before we get to the vertical, let me say I am a little disappointed that I wasn't able to combine it with these side panels, but just a little preliminary looking around, I'm going to be able to make it work. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, because in a future video I'll show how I'll adjust this to make these all fit together. Also, several of you have asked if my bed divider will fit with those molly panels. It does, but at the same time it doesn't. I'm going to make some adjustments on this to make it fit also, so you're not going to want to miss that on a future video. Mounting vertical, there's really nothing to it because those brackets are already in place. They just sit right here. There is a little rectangle here in the front, and there's a little hole on the back side.
You can slide through the little included carriage bolt and go ahead and nut the 2 together.
It is a nice option to be able to use it both horizontally and vertically, but it's really designed for that horizontal function. That's the way I'm going to be doing it. If you're looking for something that you can adjust back and forth, there's other options out there that a lot of companies sell, like that big vault divider you just saw earlier. It's going to work great though for that horizontal function. If that's what you're looking for to help separate, give you more shelf space, this is the item for you.
Here's another look at it in that vertical application.
Another benefit to this is it fits really tight when you get it into place. So it does come with these little long bolts. You have a washer and nut where you can through bolt it, the little shelf to the brackets, doesn't move. But it fits sturdy enough that I don't even think I'm gonna put the screw in, because I'm gonna wanna be able to move this in a moment's notice. And if I did, I'll probably go ahead and get like a wing nut to where I could easily get it off and not have to need like a special tool or anything like that. It does fit secure enough that I'm not even gonna add the hardware, but certainly you could, especially if you knew this is semi-permanently where you wanted this shelf to set in your truck. As always, thanks for watching. If you pick this up, use my promo code CHARISMA and get yourself the maximum discount you can get. See you in the next video where I make all of this work in the truck together.